and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Angela and I'm hoping some of my followers on Facebook are going to join me on my channel. If you haven't heard about my Facebook page yet, it's called Angela's Vegan Journey to Good Health. So go to my Facebook page and like it, and you'll find daily tips and support videos and photos all about my life. So basically this is my introduction video, and on my YouTube channel I'm going to try and post some videos about my lifestyle. I'm a fruitarian vegan. 95% of the time I eat raw food. Occasionally, like every few weeks, I'll have steamed food, and the reason why I got into all of this is for health, and the reason being, in July 2014 I got really ill, just out of the blue, and I almost died. Like, I literally was choosing what burial spot I wanted and what coffin I was going to have for myself, and I was writing my own will, and this was when I was 26. And the reason for that was I had a really stressful lifestyle at work, because I'm a teacher and I was trying to climb the ladder and be the best teacher and deputy head and everything. So I had a really stressful work life and I had a really stressful home life. My mum hadn't long passed away from a heart condition, and I was like grieving for that, and then I had quite an abusive relationship, so I turned my passions, if you want to call it that, into food, and had a really bad relationship with food, and binge ate, and didn't have any set meals, drank alcohol, just generally didn't sleep, stayed up all night. So my lifestyle was completely a mess, and I ended up in hospital on the 13th of July, and before you know it, everything was getting really crazy, and I had found out that evening that I had really high blood pressure, and it was about 295/145, which is really high, and I had a heart condition that was caused by the blood pressure, and my heart started to change shape and started to swell up, and couldn't breathe properly, had constant chest pain, and I was bleeding on my brain, and in the months that followed I had 2 mini strokes, had non-stop bronchitis and pneumonia, and then I developed something called GERD, which is where you've got constant acid reflux, and I felt like I was being choked all the time. And I had also developed fatty liver disease, but not through drinking alcohol, just through the amount of rubbish I was eating, processed fattening, fatty food with lots of salt in and stuff. So I ended up on about 15 tablets a day, and I couldn't breathe very well, so I had oxygen therapy, and I had a mask that I would use to go to sleep so I could breathe when I was asleep, and I also had a walking stick at one point, and at another point I was going to get some home help as well, because I was finding it really hard to shower and cook and things like that. So I guess as soon as I got ill, the months that followed were a bit of a haze, but I decided that that's not really the life that I wanted, and I was told, you know, you can't cure any of this, this is going to be your life forever, and you'll probably live maybe 15 years tops, and then that'll be it, you'll never have any children, so start preparing for that. So I went into therapy because I thought that's the only way I'm going to come to terms with it. But then eventually I realised after a few months, actually that's not the lifestyle that I want. And I thought, I can cure it, I can beat it, or at least I'm going to give it a go. And so I became vegetarian, and I cut out all dairy and meat, and I still kept eggs for a few months. And I stopped using salt and oils, and I started trying to walk. At first I could only walk maybe like a few minutes, But in the end, a year later, I was doing 8-mile walks every day. So for about 7 months, I was vegetarian, and then I started learning about veganism, and I then became a vegan, and then obviously I started learning about the animal rights side to veganism, and then that really kept me wanting to be a vegan when I started to learn about the animal cruelty that goes into all of our products. So I then became vegan after 7 months, and it's almost 2 years later, and I've been a vegan about a year now. Yeah, a year and a week. And maybe about 8 months ago, no, a bit longer than that, about 10 months ago, I started doing 3 days a week, just fruitarianism. So I just ate loads of fruit every single day for 3 days a week. And 4 days I would do like a standard vegan cooked diet. And then I met my partner 8 months ago, and he's a fruitarian. So I got really into the raw food fruitarianism, and I started trying, it was really hard at first, to go into the raw food vegan diet. And nowadays I eat mostly fruit all day, every day, but I call myself a 90% raw fruitarian, because occasionally I do have a cooked meal or a steamed meal, but it's always plant-based. And I eat a lot of fruit. A lot of it is locally sourced, and we buy our fruit in bulk, so we buy boxes of fruit. I eat a lot of bananas, a lot of oranges, and I make a lot of fresh orange juice from that. We have watermelons, pineapples, and then I like exotic fruit. And our ambition one day is to live in Thailand, so we eat a lot of Thai fruit. So we eat things called durian, jackfruit, papayas like from Brazil, and rambutans and lychees. We just eat loads and loads of different types of fruit, and we eat until we're full. And I find that nowadays I don't crave that junk food I used to live on. But the reason why I started my Facebook page was because I wanted to help other people, because eventually in October last year, so this would be about a year and a half after I first got ill, I went for my checkup, and I was expecting my heart condition to maybe have got a bit better, seeing as I was able to walk further, and I didn't really experience a lot of chest pain anymore. But actually during the scan, I was having an echocardiogram, and I had a stress test, and I had a treadmill test and stuff. The doctor said, "Oh, I'll be back in a minute. I've just got to go and get some other doctors." And I thought, "Oh goodness, maybe it's got worse." And I didn't know what to expect. And they were all crowding around this TV screen, looking at my heart and saying, "What have you done?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. Like, what's wrong?" And they said, "Well, no, there's nothing there. There's no trace of this heart condition anymore, and you had it. So what have you done?" And I explained to them that I'd become a vegan, and I totally removed different food groups and you know, like condiments and things like that. And I'd started walking 8 miles a day. And they said, "Well, whatever you're doing, keep on doing it, because you've totally healed your heart condition." And I was discharged there and then, and just told, you know, "Well done." And they were shocked. They couldn't understand it, and they said, "You're a medical mystery." And I went for a checkup again about a month ago, and still 6 months later, there's still no heart condition. So it's totally gone. My heart's back to a normal size. All the valves that were under a lot of strain and stuff have gone back to a normal width. And at one point they were talking about having to do a valve operation and stuff, but that's all completely history now. So I've managed to heal the heart condition. I was on 15 tablets a day, and now I'm on 1, and it's like the lowest dose ever for blood pressure. My blood pressure used to be almost 300, but now on a bad day it's maybe about 130. But on a good day it can be 95, 100, 110. So that's why I've gone down to a really low dose, and in November I'm hoping when I see my blood pressure consultant I'm totally going to come off it. I don't have GERD anymore, and I used to have really bad GERD and choke on all my food, and that's gone. I don't have fatty liver disease anymore, and at one point they were going to put me on a transplant list to have my liver exchanged and transplanted, and I don't have that problem anymore. I've got a perfect liver. Yeah, what else? I've lost about 4 stone. I don't really have any urges to binge at all. Before, I was constantly binging. Every single day I was eating. Even when I was full and I knew I was full, I would carry on eating, just because it gave me pleasure. But I don't have those urges anymore. And if ever I do have an urge, maybe every few months or so, I always manage to talk myself out of it and remind myself of like how far I've come. Before, I used to have daily headaches and migraines. I don't wake up with them anymore. I don't have chest pain. I don't have oxygen therapy anymore. I can get upstairs fine. I don't have a walking stick anymore. I've gone back to work. So yeah, and my hormones were totally from birth, because I have something called PCOS, which is polycystic ovaries. From birth, my hormones have always been totally out of whack, but I got some blood test results about 2 weeks ago, and my hormones are all normal, which is really good. So that means my PCOS is healing itself. It might go, which again is something that has never happened before. Only a few people say that they've healed their PCOS, not many. And yeah, I've got no vitamin deficiencies, and a lot of people go, well, you can't be a vegan because your vitamin B12 is going to be really, really low. But I've got perfect vitamin levels. My glucose levels have always been really, really high, and now they're perfect. I've had really high cholesterol before, and I was on medication for that, but now my cholesterol levels are perfect. My liver's working perfectly, my kidneys are working perfectly. So yeah, so the whole veganism thing has totally healed me, and especially the fruitarianism. I had 2 mini strokes, and I had a brain bleed, and I've not been suffering with that since, so that's really good. So yes, I hope you subscribe to my channel, and you can also join my Facebook page, and I'm going to try and update it every now and then with just some videos about my lifestyle, and also about my partner's lifestyle, and we're both learning about this lifestyle every day. So as we learn stuff, we'll share with you, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.